I just let AI plan my entire trip to Tokyo, Japan. No human input, no travel agent, not even a quick Google search. Just one command typed into a glowing screen at 2 a.m. It planned me the perfect trip to Japan. And within seconds, not minutes, seconds. It gave me a full itinerary, hour by hour. Where to eat, where to sleep, where to go, what to see, even what it thought I would emotionally connect with. It spoke with confidence, like it knew the city, the culture, and me. Personally, like it understood my fears, my curiosity, my taste buds, and my budget better than I did. I thought this would be a fun experiment. Got a techie twist on travel, but I had no idea what I was really signing up for. Because the moment I landed, Tokyo swallowed me whole. The neon lights, the unfamiliar symbols, the sound of a language I couldn't process, and a plan I didn't create, pulling me in directions I didn't understand. I was about to get lost. Shocked, overwhelmed, humbled, and completely blown away in ways I never expected. Because I got one thing right, almost scarily right. I'll tell you what that was soon. This was the rule. I must follow every AI instruction exactly as written. No changing the schedule, no skipping the weird suggestions. Even if they made no sense, and some made 0 sense, AI's first recommendation looked simple on the screen. A tiny traditional ramen shop tucked behind a train station. The address didn't have a street name I recognized. It's just symbols, turns, and an alleyway that felt like it disappeared into a glitch in the universe. It promised, authentic, hidden, beloved by locals. You will be welcomed warmly. That line aged terribly. I followed the blue through narrow lanes, smaller than my confidence level at that moment. Laundry hanging from balconies. Steam rising from vents in the street. It's the faint smell of soy and something unfamiliar. Maybe fish, maybe regret. I reached a tiny doorway with a curtain, not a sign, a curtain. It's the kind you'd walk past 1,000 times and never notice. Duh. But the AI said this was the spot. So I took a deep breath and walked in. The door slid open and suddenly silence. Every head turned. Chopsticks stopped midair. Conversations froze like someone had hit pause on reality. I froze, they froze. The chef looked at me like I had just walked into his living room wearing shoes on the carpet. It felt like crashing a family dinner, except was uninvited, confused, and holding a camera. I tried to greet them with the only Japanese word I knew, which I pronounced. Horribly wrong because a man immediately winced. There were no English menus, no pictures, no pointing at photos, just steam and silence. In that moment, I realized something. AI didn't choose places built for travelers. It chose places built for culture, which sounds poetic. Till you're standing in front of a chef who looks ready to kick you back to the airport. But this awkward encounter, this wasn't the mistake. This was the warm-up. Because where AI sent me next made this ramen shop feel like a friendly welcome party. The next stop is where things went from this is uncomfortable to this might actually have been a terrible idea. AI told me to visit a place called Golden Gai, a neighborhood made of tiny vintage bars stacked together like mismatched Lego blocks. The AI description promised, you'll meet unforgettable characters, which sounded poetic. Until I got there and realized the bars only fit 6 people, total. Not 6 tables, 6 people. And every door looked like a broom closet, someone accidentally licensed to sell alcohol. I walked down narrow passages lit by flickering neon. Doors so small I questioned whether they were entrances or electrical panels. I must have circled the same corner 3 times, passing locals who knew immediately I was lost. Finally, I picked one. And by picked one, I mean I stood in front of a door and debated whether or not this was actually a door. I pulled it open, ducked my head, and stepped inside, sideways. Suddenly, I was practically shoulder to shoulder with 5 strangers and a bartender polishing glasses like a guardian of the secret world. Everyone turned. Tight space, no escape. No slipping out unnoticed if this was the wrong move. But instead of awkward silence, someone laughed. Not at me, but like I was part of a joke that was older than the building. Then the bartender asked where I was from. I answered, froze. Then he said something that hit me like a plot twist. He had lived in my country, not just the country, the same city. Not just the same city, 2 streets away. And in that moment, in a bar the size of my closet, on a random night in Tokyo, controlled by an itinerary created by a machine, I found a piece of home in a place that felt impossible to predict. But that conversation, that connection, that moment, changed my perspective completely. I'll come back to that, because what happened next made me question whether this trip was still an experiment, or something much more personal. Of course, AI isn't perfect. It told me I'd see the most beautiful cherry blossoms, delicate pink petals dancing in the wind, a breathtaking moment of peace, it said. There was just one problem. It was November. No blossoms, not even one, not a single petal. Just bare branches, gray skies, and confused stares from people wondering why a tourist was taking dramatic photos of empty trees. I walked through the park like I had been stood up by nature. A lonely bench, a quiet pond, and the ghost of an experience that existed only in AI's imagination. Then came the second blow. AI recommended a mind-blowing, futuristic robot show. It used words like immersive, electrifying, unforgettable. What it didn't mention was that the show had closed months ago. I stood outside a dark building, staring at a faded poster advertising a future that no longer existed. This was the moment I thought, maybe AI can't replace real travelers. It doesn't feel culture. It doesn't smell street food sizzling on the corner. It doesn't get lost in translation or laugh at mistakes or stumble into friendships by accident. Travel is messy. Travel is human. And maybe AI, no matter how smart, can't imitate the unpredictable heartbeat of exploring a new country. But then, something happened that changed the entire experiment. AI recommended a temple. Not a famous landmark. Not the top 10 must-see places in Georgia. Just a name I'd never heard, and a pin dropped in the middle of green, sprawling nothingness. Part of me thought, here we go, another random tourist stop. But the way the app described it was different. It didn't mention history or architecture or cultural significance. Just one sentence. Good place for the mind. So I went. It was an hour outside the city. No buses, no taxis waiting, just winding roads, stray dogs watching like guardians, and the quiet hum of countryside life. When I arrived, I expected a crowd, cameras, drones, influencers, filming fake deep captions, but there was no one. No visitors, no ticket booths, no gift shop. Just bamboo swaying like it was breathing in slow motion. And a monk, probably in his 70s, sweeping leaves off ancient stone with the gentlest rhythm I'd ever seen. It felt like walking into a place that didn't care if humans still existed or not. I sat, no agenda, no timer, no do this for the vlog, and something strange happened. My thoughts stopped sprinting. No notifications to check, no algorithm yelling for attention. No pressure to capture the moment, because for once the moment didn't ask to be captured. It asked to be lived. I didn't meditate. I didn't journal. I didn't plan my next move. I just existed. The world got quiet. My mind finally followed. And that's when I realized something I wasn't prepared for. I didn't send me to a destination. It sent me to a moment, to silence, to breath, to a version of myself I forgot existed. A version not curated, not performing, not comparing. Just human, just present, just alive. But here's what still gives me chills, because this wasn't the scariest part of what AI got right. Back in that tiny Golden Gai bar, the air thick with the scent of whiskey and old wood, I found myself pressed shoulder to shoulder with strangers who felt like old characters from a story I didn't know I was in. The room was small, dim. Every glance carried weight. Every laugh echoed like it was meant just for that moment. The bartender leaned over, wiping a glass slowly, eyes calm but knowing. He said something I wasn't expecting, something that landed heavier than the neon lights outside or the chaos of the city I'd wandered through all day. AI might plan your trip, but only you can live it. The words hung in the air. Silence. I couldn't respond at first. I just stared, letting it sink in, because it wasn't about the AI. It was about me, about what I had been chasing. The itinerary, the checklist, the perfect Instagram shot, all of it mattered, far less than I thought, and he was right. AI gave me locations, streets, shops, shrines, bars. It gave me steps to follow, coordinates to hit, and suggestions that seemed logical, sometimes too logical. But the memories, those weren't in the code. They didn't come from algorithms or prompts or perfectly optimized itineraries. They came from the unexpected, from squeezing into a bar no bigger than a closet, from a nod, a laugh, a shared story with a stranger who had lived 2 streets away from me, from the quiet moments I never planned for, the pauses between one place and the next, the smells, the missteps, the sights that didn't make it onto the map, the magic, the real story, the part that would make me remember Tokyo for the rest of my life. That didn't come from AI. It came from living, fully, recklessly, awkwardly, and beautifully living. And in that tiny bar, packed with strangers and whispers, I realized the trip wasn't about checking boxes. It wasn't about following instructions. It was about being there, truly there, feeling it, breathing it, stumbling into it, and letting it happen. I can plan a route. AI can suggest places. AI can optimize efficiency. But only I could make it real. Only I could turn coordinates into memories. Only I could make the trip mine. So, is AI the future of travel? Maybe. Maybe it's a tool. Maybe it's a guide. Maybe it's the friend you never knew you needed, or the stranger who drops you in the middle of chaos and watches what you do next. But here's the truth. I discovered over streets, alleys, and temples in Tokyo, AI isn't the replacement. It's not the one making the memories. It's not the one feeling the steam off a ramen bowl or the quiet hush of a bamboo grove. It's not the laughter shared in a bar packed with strangers who suddenly feel like old friends. AI is the invitation, the framework, the prompt that nudges you toward moments you might never have found on your own. And I'm taking this experiment even further, because following an itinerary is one thing, letting AI control what I eat for 48 hours straight in Japan is something else entirely. I'll warn you, one dish nearly made me throw up. The chaos, the surprises, the moments I never could have imagined. That's where the real story begins. So if you want to see what happens when AI picks my meals, when I let it dictate not just where I go, but what I taste, what I survive, and what I regret, watch the next video, because that's where the adventure explodes, and you don't want to miss it.